Here the carrots are sown on raised beds. That is, this isn't flat soil.
How can we take a closer look at this, right?
Here's the ground level, and here's the level where the carrots are sown. So these are ridges, but a bit wider.
And if we look from the end, can we see it from the end?
Because of the carrot tops, it's a bit blurry.
Well, of course, a few months have passed.
See over there?
Yeah, so these are the beds. This is what they look like, right?
Yes.
This space between beds.
And over there, the next ridge starts the same way. What did this give us? During periods of heavy rainfall, the carrots didn't get waterlogged, so we had a very rainy spring, and all the moisture would drain into the spaces between the beds. The second point, because of the complexity of the soil, maybe because it was overcompacted, and because we pile up these ridges, the carrots are less likely to branch out, meaning they grow more evenly, especially if we use long-type hybrid varieties like those that grow 25 to 30 centimeters long. Not the short Chantenay type, but the conical long ones. And what if it's a long one? Because if the soil is dense, the carrot hits resistance and splits.
So basically, this ridged bed is loose and the carrots develop well straight and there are fewer forked ones, right? Is the percentage of forked ones lower?
Yes, and that's very important for those who have heavy soils, because the ridge warms up earlier, dries out faster, and it has a lot of advantages when it comes to growing root crops. This carrot has already been growing for more than 100 days, definitely 120 days by now, so it's time to harvest it. So in the coming days we'll already be starting the harvest. So what's the main thing during the growing period? It's about fertilization. That is, when the seedlings emerge, when there are 3 or 4 leaves, it's important to give the plant a balanced start. In our case, we use Planta 20-20-20, which is a balanced formula of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. This stimulated active growth of the above ground part and in balance nourished the roots so they could establish well. Next, when the carrot starts to develop and the root crop begins to form about the thickness of a pencil, we continue to use this formula. This is because it's important for us to support and provide the plant with all the necessary nutrients.
So the first feeding is when there are 3 or 4 true leaves. You use a 20-20-20 formula for balanced development. And the second feeding is done when the root crop is about the thickness of a pencil.
It's just starting to form and it's not thicker than a pencil.
So once the root crop has started to form and the leaves are developing, we repeat the 20-20-20 feeding, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. What's the dosage? Could you clarify, please?
If it's for 10 liters, then more or less, just like with other crops, it's 20 to 25 grams. We watered as the soil and the ridge began to dry out. So basically we tried to maintain optimal moisture because we wanted to avoid those fluctuations between wet and dry. Otherwise, I would have had to fertilize with every watering to prevent the root crops from splitting. That's why we water as the top layer of soil dries out.
So you shouldn't let the soil dry out and then soak it with water, otherwise the root crops might split, right?
Yes. When it's dry, the cell dries up and doesn't grow. But when we give it a lot of water, it starts to grow actively. And because it's not balanced in terms of nutrition, it splits. And that's why we get these cracks on the root crops.
By what specific signs do you typically know it's the right time to harvest your carrots in the autumn-fall?
The main factor still depends on the hybrid. It has a certain development period. You can keep carrots growing for a long time if you maintain healthy foliage, that is, if it's not affected by powdery mildew or other leaf spots, if you water on time, and if you provide additional feedings. You can extend the carrot's growth period thanks to, so what do we get as a result? We get a larger root crop. But if it goes beyond these limits, beyond the time frame, the carrot root can start to sprout small roots, and because of this, it loses its marketable appearance. That's why you should focus on and rely on the optimal periods recommended by the seed manufacturer. Because there are early varieties which take 90 to 100 days, there are mid, late and late ones, right? So you need to know how many days. If it needs 140 days to grow, then you need to sow it earlier and accordingly.
Well, Misha, can you tell by looking at the root crop? So we've dug under. Let's finally pull out what we've already dug under, what we've prepared, so to speak. Here they are, our fruits, root vegetables, to be more precise.
Now, first and foremost, this is precisely what I was referring to and discussing. We have a bit of a problem with overcompaction, and things like this can form.
Yes. Well, you'll tell us now, right? The soil was overcompacted because, oh, beauty. Well, it's beautiful.
So we have a problem with overcompaction on our plot. The result on the carrots is this splitting, the formation of these little roots, which also thicken.
Yeah.
Well, it loses its marketable appearance. From the carrot's perspective, there's nothing wrong with it. You can eat it, everything's fine.
But on the market, this would be the perfect carrot, right?
Well, the size depends on the hybrid again. If we know that it should be about this size, then this is the time to harvest. An important nuance about when to harvest is again at what temperatures. If it's August and it seems like the carrots are already ripe and ready to be harvested, it might still be too early, because if we dig them up, in just a couple of hours or half a day they'll start to wilt since the temperatures are too high. Often we harvest when it's already cool in the fall and it's a bit damp outside. This way we can keep them fresh longer before moving them to the cellar or the garage, so to speak, right? This is the result of the last autumn rains. That is, there was no watering, the soil dried out, then it rained, and the ground started to crack a little. That's why it's important to apply potassium during the growth and fruiting stages, well, and during the development of the root crop as well.
Friends, I sincerely hope that this video will prove to be incredibly useful for all those who diligently grow carrots and have perhaps encountered any specific problems or challenges along the way.